Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live. We are here with the broadcast of the USA Cycling League presented by Saris, the Pros Closet. We have 57 elites in the men's race already jumping out on course. I believe in the women's race, it looks like we've got about 10 to 20 riders jumping in as well with some of our top esports on women out on course here today. They've got about 3 minutes and 50 seconds to get going, and the men have already started. Dave, we've got the opportunity today to be casting for the first time on Zwift Community Live with USA Cycling in their league here out on the French world, actually. Pretty cool. And a lot of climbing out here today, Dave. Oh, microphone. We got the microphone, Dave. You
A
got it?
lot of
There we
climbing
go.
today. Sorry about that, Nathan.
No
So
worries.
yeah, almost 1,200 meters of climbing out there today, or getting pretty close to that. Some names coming back that we haven't seen in a little while. Etta Friere of the Legion team is in this field that we're looking at. As Nathan mentioned, the women will be out on course shortly as we pick up the men here. Not a huge group. We're kind of in a transition season right now as we move through the summer. But James Bevan is back, the Army racing rider out of the United Kingdom, very strong. Matteo Sigala is in our field, the Irish rider. Gavin Dempster, a Scottish rider, one of the danger men without any doubt, Nathan. So we have a strong field here. No doubt about it. But let's talk about the course. A lot of climbing today. Yeah, it's going to be close to an hour in the saddle.
Yeah, long day in the saddle out here today, that's for sure. And I just want to really quickly say a little bit of something about a rider that's out here that Gino Bartali or Andrew Gadja is a rider that recently did an amazing post from Team Draft. And something that it really relates, I think, as well to the whole reality of what's been going on during the pandemic and the move to indoor cycling for a lot of riders and focusing in on that. Very cool post he recently did. He is actually in the field out here. We'll see if we can find him. He's riding for Team Draft. And it was on July 31st. He said he was reflecting on the COVID has affected his cycling, and that he had a dream as a teenager being a pro cyclist, and that this actually, this whole Zwifting reality has brought that to ahead for him, somewhat into a reality for him, that he's, not achieved the goals on the road, but in this season that he's able to race against Matthew Van Der Poel, Andrew Greipel, Mikhail Kwiatkowski. I mean, the reality of being able to jump in with some of these pros, as well as the entirety of the Zwift community that's really formed around racing out here, something I just really wanted to highlight. And I saw him jump into the race out here today on the start line. Wanted to give a big shout out to him, and it was a really awesome post that he made. Tagged me, you and I both in it, actually, as well as Zwift and Zwift Community Live and his Team Draft. So big shout out to him. He's been participating like crazy in all these races. So we'll see what Draft can show up for with today. That is the red jersey in the back there. You can see him with Team Draft. So appreciate that post, as well as all the other racers that have been showing up week in and week out and what they've been able to participate in here that Zwift's been putting together along with USA Cycling.
Let me dovetail into that positivity, Nathan. That positive mental attitude goes a long way. Just like COVID, it's infectious. And you guys do that. The Zwift community does a great job with that. I wanted to send a word out to our man, Timmy Bauer. Nathan, he, as you saw, we talked about it earlier. He hit a deer earlier today. I love the fact, you know how I knew Timmy was going to be fine? His first comment I heard was, "My bike's okay." So
yeah, I saw the post as well. He looks like he's got a smile on his face. Even with all of the road rash, looks like he's going to be all right. Doesn't look like, from what I can see, no broken bones, just road rash. From what I can see, so good to hear and good to see that he'll be on the recovery. Sorry to, I'm glad his bike is okay. It looks like the helmet took the brunt of it, so I'm glad that it did its job.
Well, yeah, that wave cell helmet. That's one of the things, and I'm sure a lot of folks have witnessed the sprint crash in Poland today. And that's one of the great things about Zwift for sure, is that these riders get to go all out in these finishing efforts. I mean, they're almost blacking out as they're coming across the line, but you don't have that danger. And I love that about this. So guys, have at it today. Hey, Dan Fleeman is out there today, the former Cervelo test team rider that's been directing Nathan. Hasn't he done a great job? Is not just a racer then, but passing on the knowledge that he has. So there's a nice rider to highlight here. James Bevan being back, though, that should send some shivers down some spines. wouldn't you think?
It'll be interesting to see what James can pull off today because it is definitely a climbing course out there today. And James being such a strong sprinter, we'll see what he can do up against some of the stronger riders out here when it comes down to heading uphill. It'll be, if he can challenge
Oh,
these, these boys out here, we'll have to wait and see.
Nathan, I thought I did a decent job looking at the start list today. I did not see the name Ed Laverick. I just saw it there. Ed Laverick is in our
Oh,
field.
well, I think
So
Ed Laverick's been pulling like 7 watts per kilogram for 5 minutes
what does he do?
uphill at this point. So, I mean, I've seen
Is he
some
registering?
crazy, amazing videos recently on his YouTube. If you haven't checked it out, Laverick, and I have a feeling if he is on the start line and actually in this race,
Oh, he is.
be prepared,
I just saw-
everybody. Be prepared because going uphill is going to be very difficult to hang on. And I think it's going to be the Wahoo kit. He's going to make everybody feel like a Yahoo out there today, though, because Laverick, I think everyone's going to be watching him. This is your UK hill climb champion and definitely representing for the Wahoo team out here.
I will put my Eder Freire. Viva Mexico. I like Eder today as well, the Legion rider. You know him well, Nathan. He was standing out during Tour of the Gila this year, and Gavin Dempster as well. So, yeah, we got a dynamite race for you out there today, folks. Thanks for joining us here on Zwift Community Live.
Wow, Dempster, Laverick, Eddie Freire. This is definitely, it's a smaller field, but the talent, quantity but quality. I mean, the quality is very, very, very high out here today.
Yeah. Would you rather have a really good, smaller burrito or a really big, bad one? Right? I'll take the small, good one every time. And that's just me. I've actually had other commentators tell me, no, they'll go with the big burrito. They like quantity. So I guess that's sometimes the American way, or at least around the world, we're known that way. So yikes. Okay. Nathan, picking it up here, everyone together, they're all realize it's going to, yesterday we watched the women in the empowerment series, WTRL, absolutely blow this field up. It was actually Christy Tracy that won the race. We'll have the women. There they are. As Kristen Kolchinski, she was in the hunt before a power dropout yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see how Kolchinski does, but certainly, Nathan, after yesterday, she's the rider or one of the riders to watch because Natalia Franco also, and there goes the Colombian rider for 2020.
You know what?
Franco.
Yesterday, I got a message from Nicola saying that she was testing out what it was feel like to be 75 kilograms. and so she forgot to change her weight back afterwards. And so that's why when she went out the gate, she was off the back in the second group right away. Because Natalia, she can climb. I mean, she's an amazing climber. She's a featherweight. And I thought for sure she was going to be challenging the Colombian out there. And of course, she puts in 75. Well, the reality, she got a rude awakening, I think, yesterday, what that feels like.
One of the worst ideas from a racer ever.
Well, no, she was testing. No, but it wasn't for the race. The couple days prior, she was testing to see what it felt like. Yeah, and forgot.
Planning on doing the
no, not at all. No, not at all. Just forgot to change it back.
Nathan, I weigh more than 75 kilo, right? So to think about what she was going through, that's funny and not funny. It's funny because it's true, as they say. So, well, better luck to you. Obviously, Franco's going to be en fuego out there today then after that. Yeah, she's a really cool person. I'm a big fan. 2020 has so many outstanding personalities. As a matter of fact, Leah Davison deserves a shout out. She's getting some national media attention. I believe it was the New York Times. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but there's definitely a lot of great things happening with that 2020 team. Nikki Kramer does an amazing job. So she actually weighs 45 kilo. Are you kidding me? For our U.S. folks who don't do that conversion, that's not much more than 100 pounds.
No, it's not. That's super, super light. So obviously the reality of the watt per kilogram then at that point, because of that extra, that's a huge amount of extra 30 kilos. You're talking, trying to push that around as a featherweight.
Well, tell me about it.
Very difficult day.
How do you think I feel? So,
Uh,
anyways, we get to joke now. It looks like a split, though, Nathan. It was a small group to start with. So let's see. They're going to whittle this one down. And when they hit the climb, it again will be much like yesterday. I think every woman for herself. Let's see who we've got. So Franco is in the blue and green. That's going to be 2020. Kolchinski is going to be. I'm jumping over to the women. I think, Nathan, more action happening on this side right now. Ramsey with that Sisu team, who we've come to know and love. Boy, have they been strong in the team time trial. Anna Russell, that superstar triathlete out of New Zealand. Of course, she made the group. Wait, we have every continent represented here.
Yeah, and Reznikov is here as well. So this may be a small elite group. Wagner's there, though, also from Cryogen. So definitely a very talented group of riders. Those 6 now that are left at this point after the first little climb. There it was a KOM that they were going through. And then, but the real climb is on its way still. And the men, they're just about to start it, actually. They're hitting the bottom of it at this point. And I think things are going to calm down after this initial split in the women's race. But in the men's race here, now we do see the rider Gajah make his way to the front from Team Draft that we talked about a little bit earlier here. And it looks like he's going to be leading the charge initially. And we'll see what kind of patience is going to pay off. We do see Laverick there making his way to the middle of it. Charles there as well, moving his way up. Stacy moving backwards now, but it's going to be Huel taking over from Cryo RDT coming out of South Africa.
So 23 total K today. We've done almost 9, and they've only done 107 meters of climbing, Nathan. If you do the math, I wouldn't even say the sting is in the tail. I would just say that all of the climbing is in the back half of the race. It's pretty straight ahead as they've still got, at this point now, they've got about 1,100 meters of climbing ahead of them. So it looks like you'd think, oh my gosh, they're 12 minutes into a 23K race and they've done 9 of them. This thing's going to be over in half an hour. Not at all. The speeds drop dramatically when you're on a significant climb. This course was used in the Tour de France Virtual. This was just a huge part of the successful summer that Zwift has had. La Reine is what they call it. It means the queen. We finish up at Chalet Reynard. Nathan, you've rode it. You were one of the first people ever to get a crack at this one. Boy, did the engineers do an amazing job. And they turned this one around quick, didn't they? When they were tasked with this project of creating this French world for the Tour, I'm going to guess a lot of 20, 22-hour days.
Very long days, I would assume, and trying to get this done. But they definitely did an amazing job with it. And it hurts, though. I mean, the reality of this climb, you hit this 6%. It does flatten out for a moment, for about, for a solid, I don't know, it's a minute or two, down to about 1-2%, but then it's right back up. And then from there, essentially, you're at 8 to 11, 12% most of the time, actually, all the way up. The rest of the Queen. Now, it is about 2/3 of the way up. You're not doing the full Ventoux, but you are going a whole lot of the way right until the tree line stops, essentially.
Yeah, it's a dramatic course, obviously. When the tree line stops, it almost looks like it's lunar up there. So what we get right now, though, is a race that's going to start feeling the pressure here any minute now, Nathan. So take a look up in that top right-hand corner. You see the grade at 3, now 4%. It never gets crazy, but it's really, really tough. And that's an interesting fact, Pete. Thank you very much. Pete Butler letting us know that Mike Woods, who won the stage that day at the virtual tour, still owns the virtual KOM for the La Reine segment. I don't think that changes anytime soon.
Laverick here? I don't know. I wonder here. Laverick a lot of times will do 1 or 2 races a day when he does race out on Zwift. If he's coming in fresh, it might be a goal of his actually today to grab that. And I would not doubt, because
great point.
The reality of what he could hold, I think, could come up against challenging Mike's effort, actually, with what he's been doing recently with the focus on hill climbing. So we'll have to wait and see.
I don't have it at my fingertips. Nathan, do you know what the watts per kilo, what Woods put up that day?
I saw a lot of 7s all the way to the top. I saw a lot of 7s.
Right at 7.
I saw a whole lot of 6-7 coming from him up and out of the saddle over and over and over again, though. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we can get a little more help from chat, but we'll see. And that's a good prediction. They're also coming from people up there saying that the race will start breaking apart as they go through the mountain tunnel. But we do see on the front here, WTRL now making a little bit of a move, 459 watts right now, 6.1 watts per kilogram. So the race is now on, really, into the flatter sections. The initial kick is over where I said it was going to hit that flatter section of the climb, that 1% gradient. Now, any drafting that's really available is just about done, and it's nothing but uphill from here. Conti now we see coming up. Looks like Elliot Ryder now making his way to the front, taking over at the pack.
Boy, you really feel like the big talents are going to start moving up now. I see Dan Fleeman is starting to do exactly that for the Saris, the Pros Closet team. These guys didn't wait around at all. We've got about a little more than 12K of this. They're going to be having at it out here. We're really just starting to bring that pot to a boil right now. What's amazing to me, Nathan, is we have almost, I'm going to say 50 riders still in this group at this point. It shows you the depth that we've got out here in these A races, but the charge is on now.
Left-hand turn now after the initial KOM. There is that initial climb that they do in this course, but now on to the proper Ventoux, as you can see, just starting it up here now. And this is where that 6% gradient now really starts to kick up. And the rider Conti here now, making a move still. Then right behind him on his wheel, it is going to be Zayas there, as well as Huel. And then Dempster following it. Fleeman is here as well. So Saris the Pros Closet showing up for their race. Big shout out to them. They're the ones that are helping organize this alongside of USA Cycling League. A lot of work going into this coming from them, setting everything up over Zwift Power, getting things organized with Zwift. So big shout out to Saris Pros Closet, our host team. Laverick now making his way to toward the back of this elite group now, as well as things start to split up. You do see it is going to be Frere actually maybe struggling. Yep. Have to wait and see.
I think he's coming. I think he was positioned a little poorly, and he's going to catch a big break right here, Nathan, as they're not going to completely throw down right now. Again, I would always use the Laverick standard, I would call it, where if you're in the same group as Laverick, you're not doing that badly out here, or that poorly out here. But again, there's going to be a huge reshuffling happening here. Lejeune of the World Elite Zwifters is there, the Belgian rider on that team, but you can see they're starting to do damage here. Riders are getting their tickets punched right now by that evil conductor at the back of this peloton. But Nathan, a little bit of a back off right now. These guys keeping their powder dry. It's going to be a brutal half hour of racing that they've got ahead of them.
You see that initial split here. Let's see the initial split, and Jones was able to back off just a little bit there at about 3 watts per kilogram. Look at all the Welsh flags there. Pretty cool to see. And then there was a lot of Scottish flags as well. So really interesting setup here for the USA Cycling League. Fleeman now making his way to the back. Smart riders here at this point. I think they know that this is the initial selection.
That one lonely Mexican flag right in the middle of all these riders in the United Kingdom. That's Eder Frere, who, I would not be ill-advised to support him, that's for sure. Here we go. Natalia Franco, the Colombian, in blue on the front in the women's race here. Not a lot has changed. This is basically that first selection that was made. Anna Russell, Kristen Kolchinski. Actually, let's take a look at all of the riders that we've got in this group right now, because that's going to be Lenny Ramsey, Natalia Franco, Antonina Reznikov, and Dana Wagner, all right here.
Yeah, and this is definitely a solid group. I think every one of these riders is a pretty good climber as well. So they've chosen this course, I think, specifically to try and challenge themselves against, obviously, the competition, but also see what they can pull off on this specific climb. So every one of these riders, I think, is going to be watching the others for any kind of attacks. It's going to be interesting to see the kind of attrition that's going to be playing here, because when you're watching any kind of Queen stage or any kind of stage of a major tour, and they get into the mountains, you start getting into threshold effort. You just stay steady there, and then any kind of attacks or these spiky punches that come left and and they're very risky, because if you go too far over, you can find yourself off the back, but you could break riders. So it gets really interesting how that plays out. Kolchinski, though, making a move. Franco, as you can see here, following immediately, because Kolchinski yesterday really showed herself to have some talent there. 6.2 coming from her. Russell trying to follow, it looks like. TPC, Race Like a Girl there as well, coming from Team Sisu. It's going to be Ramsey falling off, as well as Wagner. So may have another selection happening here with Kolchinski, trying to get some revenge after yesterday's dropout.
That's the razor's edge that champions live on, Nathan, because going back to breaking riders, sometimes you break yourself in that effort, right? It's got to be calculated. This race is really hotting up right now when you take a look at the women coming up on 10K. So, all right. That, again, it's settling down just a little bit, but the men, not at all, Nathan. Take a look at what we've got going on right now. Wow, this is
Dawson
going to be
tried
a
to come back.
scorcher.
Rademacher did as well. It looks like Hamlet, they almost got back on terms actually before another kick happened, as they do come through a couple little rollers here real quickly as they make their way through the climb. But now I think from here on out, it's essentially mainly uphill from here on out. It's been Conti continually on the front here with Huel. These two have really been driving the pace, while it looks like Laverick, Lashley, and a few others just kind of sitting in smartly right around that third or fourth wheel. No real attacks as of yet, as there's still a lot of climbing to go.
Yeah, so right now, I mean, this might be the last chance you really get to gather yourself here. There's another name, Jagger, that we haven't seen in a
Jaden
while.
Yager, I know that
Yeah.
this rider's got KOMs locally for me. I know this rider, so that's definitely one to be watching out for as well. Very strong rider coming out of the Midwest here. We'll see what Jaden can pull off now with 4.6 watts per kilogram steady here as he sits on Dempster's wheel.
You're kind of taking a look at a rundown of doing some inventory. You've got Divola here, Ravel, Fleeman, Laverick, Hule, Friere, Conti, who's been very active. James Bevan has kind of quietly been staying in this group, not burning too many extra calories out there. Wade, Zhu, Lashley, Charles, Ben Jones, another Welsh rider, Nathan. It's been a rider to watch, no doubt about it, in that men's group. They're coming up on 14K in.
Now it looks like Lejeune now, WEZ, World Elite Zwifters, now making his way to the front there. The Belgian rider, you were talking about him a little bit, 470 watts. This is a real attack on the 10% gradient, actually. This is the key moments when it gets into these, Dave, speak to that a little bit. I mean, the reality is that these sharpest sections of each and every climb are going to be the sections you can get the most time and really put the hurt on the rest of the riders.
There's no bigger truth in racing than that. The harder the course, that's where the strongest riders, and especially when you're talking about watts per kilo, that's where they can make their difference. But it goes to show you too, Nathan, that it is so hard to make a difference out here with this many talented riders sitting back in this group. And you wonder always, is Laverick going to use Lejeune as a springboard here? You start to feel the noose tightening as this is going to be at the point. Yeah, there's the split. It looks like, Nathan, we're going to have 6 riders going clear. I'll be surprised now if any quarter is given. And if Laverick continues, just stay with Laverick if you're in this group and look at this. Some more guys fighting back. This is the real battle. In order to win, you have to risk losing, but I wouldn't be taking that risk right now.
Yeah, Fleeman makes his way to the front immediately. This is a rider who's very experienced at the World Tour level here now. 5.4 watts per kilogram coming from him. Takes over at the front and then backs it right on off, actually. I think he knew that was a moment to go because, as you can see, Jones falling off. Also, Jaden Yager falling off a little bit here. Second chase group starting to form. But you get in amongst this group and trying to get past wheels when you're at that 172, 400 watts. It's just like you need to give that much extra to come across. And if you don't have, even if you do have it, the risk to use it at that point with that much climbing left to go, that razor's edge you talked about, you can end up getting cut completely. Boom, you're back with Conti and Huel and the rest. That really maybe wasted too much energy early on. So 2-second gap back now as it looks like just trying to hang on Velez as well as Revel.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan, it's one of those things, unless you've done this, you really can't imagine going from 2 watts per kilo to 3 watts per kilo. It's almost not even noticeable to a rider like this as far as perceived effort. But when you're trying to go from 5.5 to 6, that is a quantum leap in the effort that you're making. And you always wonder, how long can I do this, right? How long can I stay above 6 watts per kilo here before I blow sky high? And that's where a lot of these guys are at, just trying to stay in the group that they're in.
Now we do see select group of 3. Reznikov, Franco, Kolchinsky now at this point. And then we have a chase group with Wagner, Russell, and then it is going to be Ramsey from Sisu, I Raced Like a Girl. And so these 3, I think they're going to get into a steady rhythm because I think they just had to let the pure climbers get away at this point with Reznikov and Franco, Kolchinsky. So I think Franco here sitting steady on the PTZ wheel as she continues to press the pace and try to open up that gap enough that they don't have to worry about them any longer. Or maybe it looks like she's just pressing on and saying, no, I'm going to really try and put my stamp on this and say, I'm going to win this from the bottom to the top. We'll see if it ends up paying off for her as Kolchinsky tries to come across.
Well, I love in a world as well. I think a lot of people can relate during COVID-19 how opportunity, when you have it, you take it. And a rider like Natalia Franco right now has a chance to go on to become one of the greatest female. Colombia has this unbelievable racing history that goes back even, certainly the 80s when they were sending riders over to North America and to the Tour de France for the first time. But it goes back even further than that. Riders like Cochise Rodriguez and Natalia Franco, though, on the women's side of things, has a chance to become one of the all time Colombian greats. She's a young, talented rider. She's already on the national team, and she's getting up on that wheel here. Reznikov is going to be super tough out here today. And we talked at the beginning of the show about Kristen Kolchinski. She had a power dropout. That's the equivalent of a flat tire in this sport for riders in esports. Having your internet drop, or it's kind of in this day and age, you get a lot of people who are racing at home, but at the same time as their partner or whoever it might be in their life, the kids. A lot of these women will be moms, and maybe not so many in this race here today, but it's not rare at all. And so point being made that that's your biggest fear is that you have that internet failure. And right now, it's not an internet failure. It's just Reznikov pouring more coal on the fire here, Nathan. Boy, she's hitting hard at this point. Again, they started about not exactly 5 minutes after the men, so they're a little bit further back on course right now as we take a look at that's Romain Joux that we're looking at here in a group that looks like it's getting down under 20 riders here. Joux racing for Team Novo Nordisk, that all type 1 diabetic squad that is so inspirational.
Yeah, pretty cool to see as he looks to try and get across as the attacks really coming on. I think Evola, as well as Jager, said enough is enough, as at the front it is going to continue to be Lejeune, who just, it looks like he's just kind of set his tempo. He's riding his race at this point, making it as difficult as he possibly can. I don't think he's actually looking to attack. He's just he said, this is my pace. This is what I can ride. Try and hold on at this point. And Dempster here, as you can see, as well as Fleeman here, just following the wheels, 180 beats per minute, though. And I think they're struggling a little bit. That's a pretty high heart rate here for Dempster. Saris the Pros Closet now trying to follow the wheels. 9% gradient here, as you can see. Eddie Friere, though, also sitting in. The Mexican rider now, 380 watts now. Steady. It looks like coming from him. Laverick still steady as well. 166 beats per minute. I think Laverick is following wheels well. I think he's suffering a little bit. I mean, excuse me. I don't think he's suffering too much at this point. I think he's just making sure that he's waiting for his moment to pounce. They still have a solid 20 minutes or so, I think, to go.
Yeah, biding his time like a lion. That's the Lion of Wales when you're talking about Laverick in the black jersey. They're right in the middle of the group. Super, super impressive job here. If you're in this group, Nathan, you are a heavy hitter. No doubt about it. And we still are going to find another level, couple more gaps starting to open up. You can only keep this kind of pressure up for so long. It looks like James Bevan says, not me. He's not going to be the one that lets that gap open as he closes it down. More riders fighting back. You're just trying to keep your head above water right now. As you can see, that orange and blue jersey, that's going to be Saris, the Pros Closet. It looks like Dempster and Fleeman are ready to make a run at it. Here we go. Our host club throwing some haymakers right now, Nathan.
Yeah, we do have in the women's race as well. It looks like a break now happening with Reznikov getting away as solo rider. So Antonina Reznikov here from Team PTZ. She's averaged about 4.7 at this point. Natalia Franco is at 5.1, but not able to hold on. For those of you who are wondering, professional triathlete, long distance world championship ITU duathlon, elite third place, winner of Israeli championship triathlon long distance. So this is one of the
well-credentialed rider.
Yeah, world level triathlete, world record Ultraman course. It sounds like as well. So definitely former 1995 to 2001 cyclist, road and Ukrainian national team as well. So 52 races out on Zwift, and definitely has the credentials for what she's pulling off here. Franco now trying to chase that down along with Kolchinski here, as you can see. 9 seconds though, so Reznikov definitely not in the clear, but showing that she's here to race from the bottom to the top. No games to be played at all.
Well, and let's be real. You're looking at a world-class triathlete who excels in time trialing. it's going to be awfully hard to bring her back now. Although the point being made, we have a long way to go. A lot of things can happen, but this is a rider who knows her capacity is well within herself right now. I mean, I'm not going to say that Reznikov is breathing through her nose, but she certainly doesn't look like a chicken having breakfast.
Yeah, then you know where that one's coming from. So, Nathan, oh gosh. So
That's a shout out to the Koa guys.
Yep. That's the Koa boys, here with the chickens and the breakfast here. But we got a couple of shout outs here as well coming from Matthew Gardner. Thanks a lot, Matthew Gardner. It's from STPC here, Saris the Pros Closet. Anna Russell, Mom Watts in the house. So a little bit of a shout out for her. She's sitting in the third chase group out on course, loving that, and also seeing a couple of others coming on in here. Matthew Wheeler letting us know that also that tombstone markers aren't super uplifting as you ride up this. So good to see you guys.
Those actually aren't tombstones. I get the joke though completely. If you go, they're mileage markers that you see there. So they're they definitely look like it, 100%.
This is one of the most beautiful sections right here that the men are.
Look how steep it is.
It's so steep. 12% over this little stone bridge section here. Very cool wall, actually, as they go past the trolley bridge there. But Lejeune and Laverick, they've made an attack on the 12% here. Laverick closed it down, and it looks like Edifreer trying to come across. Saris caught it following alongside Bevan. Looks like Lashley almost able to hang on, but they have broken Sivori as well as a few others here. Dempster actually not able to go with, so it looks like it's going to be Dan Fleeman,
more of a
pure climber out there. Well, I think Fleeman's the pure climber. I mean, Dempster's a pretty punchy climber, but I mean this is pure mountain climbing that we're doing right now.
Well, Lejeune is certainly putting on a show on the front right now. There's our man Eder, though, doing a really good job of positioning himself right now. He's right where he wants to be. Still got Ed Laverick to deal with, Fleeman, Bevan. It's a who's who right now, Nathan, climbing in this front group. But yeah, and a lot of these guys have to look around and be a little surprised to see they have company after the effort they've made like this at this point. Especially Lejeune, and here he goes again.
Again here, the Belgian rider now, 164, 165 beats per minute. Eddie Ferrer trying to come across, 7.5 watts per kilogram currently coming from him. Ed Laverick here now, 7.1 from him as he looks to hold on to the wheels. So now we're really getting into the business end here. The attacks are on. When they start getting into this 6 to 7 and holding consistently, you know that they are going all in at this point to try and break everybody. They can sense it. They can taste a little bit of blood in the water there. And at this point, they know that the other riders are hurting. Bevan looking to come across. It looks like here Lashley is broken. And I think that's what they were looking for here. And I think Fleeman is also breaking as well. Will Bevan be able to come across? It looks like it's going to be a chase group here with Fleeman and James Bevan, because I think the three up front are showing that they are just a step above the rest.
How elite are these guys? I mean, Nathan, these days there's 7 billion people on planet Earth. I'm going to guess there's less than 5,000 that can make over 6 watts per kilo for 10 minutes. I mean, it is such an elite group of just super athletes. And that's what you're looking at right now. I mean, watch these numbers here. This is the next level. This is what so many people who ride on Zwift can't even imagine, Nathan, when you look at how deep these guys are digging, and they're not even scraping the bottom of the barrel yet. So we talked at the opening of the webcast about Eder Friere. Well, he certainly is backing up, but he's right now, he and Lejeune, the Belgian rider, who I will admit, Nathan, I don't know what the Belgian equivalent is in Flemish of coming out of the woodwork, but he's doing exactly that here. I think turning a lot of heads on this climb that we call Reine, the climb. They're climbing up to Chalet Reynard, and right now it was 23K total distance today. They're just coming up on 17 and a half. That's the men we're talking about. You can see Nathan bringing up the women now. Reznikov continues to throttle the mountain right now. Going, gone.
Natalia Franco now making a little bit of a move. Kolchinsky unable to hold the wheels. They hit that 12% gradient, so it looks like Kolchinsky's going to have to settle in for third place currently. Wagner and Anna, though, as well as Team CC with Ramsey working well together. We'll see if they can start to reel Kolchinsky back in. But now it's a battle of 20 seconds between Reznikov Natalia Franco from Team 2020, 178 beats per minute currently coming from her. Reznikov made a very early attack, but you do see a little bit of what we call in the coaching world decoupling of the heart rate. She went to 180s, 179, 180, steady. Now, whether or not she has the energy to hold this kind of an effort all the way to the top is going to be a question that's going to start coming up if that heart rate continues to decouple out from what she was currently. She put a certain wattage down, right? It was right around 5.5 or 5.0 to 5.5. And she started right around that 180 beats per minute. But if she continues to hold there and the heart rate continues to go out, she's going to end up getting closer and closer to that max heart rate where she just has to slow down. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that because Franco, she might start being able to sense that she could bring some time back if she tempered herself a little bit better.
And that right there is exactly why we have them race all the way to the finish, right? Rather than saying it's over halfway up the mountain. And you've got to be in for the duration here. And Franco's going to show some real grit out here as if you want to get better, that's how you do it. Chase down a world-class triathlete on a really, really hard climb. Well, Lejeune putting him under pressure now again, but here comes Laverick.
Laverick 7.3, 170 beats per minute, though I think Laverick's really starting to get put under pressure next to Edith Friere here at this point. So Edith Friere now 7.5 watts per kilogram, and this is what we're talking about. Edith Friere, one of the top athletes from the North American UCI scene, up against one of the top athletes from the European scene as well as Lejeune, coming out of Belgium here. So this is really an amazing show that's being put on here today on the men's side of things. Some of the best athletes that we have in the continental scene showing what they've got here on this Ventoux climb here. And they're about, what do we say? We're going into about 5K from the finish here at this point. I think they're going to have to we're going to really start to see the punches and the haymakers coming to try and break this rather than getting any kind of sprint to the line.
So channeling Rowan Dennis there with the avatar, right? The calling in all the, that's quite a look for sure for Lejeune here on the front, and he is showing him a clean rear wheel right now as Laverick's going to fight back, and this is the danger, is the counterattack. Oh boy, Nathan, these are the riders of the apocalypse right now on this climb here as they hit 4.5K-ish to go. It's a long 4.5K though.
Yeah, super. I mean, this is those moments because, I mean, you put these attacks in and sometimes, at least for me, when I get into this like super suffering, I just want to stay steady. And you wonder how much more that the other riders have. You start getting into your head about, okay, did they go over their effort? Are they actually going to be able to hold this steady and attack and attack and attack? And you start questioning what the tactic actually is. If I follow this, will I end up falling off or not? You know, so there is, and look, Eddie Ferrer, I think he's asking that question himself. 7.2 watts per kilogram currently. Well, he let a wheel go, and I think he may be able to bring this back. Laverick now 5.9. Look, they're starting to look at each other. I think, look, this is the reality of it. They were going so incredibly hard. They had to back off, and now it's that moment where you're like, okay, are we all pretty evened out here at this point, or somebody got something left?
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing some numbers from Laverick going up to that 7.6, 7.8 for more than just a second or two. So that was a huge effort to make that catch. And I think that the reality is Friere is going to come back now as they do. You can see sitting in the mid fives right now there. So Friere does come back and then Lejeune surges again. So that's really the tactic here, making a very uncomfortable tempo rather than letting these guys ride their rhythm, Nathan. He's attacking and thus not letting them get comfortable in any way, shape, or form. And you can see that Laverick is quickly shutting that down and almost immediately Edith Friere's in trouble again here.
Look at Lejeune's heart rate, though, starting to go out here. As we can see, I think these attacks are starting to maybe wear on him a little bit here. Laverick looking to follow now. 176 beats per minute currently coming from Laverick, though. Still with 4K to go. 4K to go to the top here still at this point. The attack's still coming on, but Edith Friere still involved. He hasn't completely let them go. 2 seconds is a lot, though, on an 11% gradient. As Laverick looks to try and hold on. It looks like he will do so. Wow. Up and out of the saddle, 5.7, steady, as you can see. And I think he's waiting to launch his attack. Still just following wheels. And I think the moment of the actual attack is still 1 or 2K out to go.
At what point do you stop fighting for second or the win and start holding off fourth? Right? Because that's going to be Fleeman and Bevan that you've got coming for you now. And these guys have got some real estate to play with. as we've got, more than 3.5K to go of significant climbing here. So if I'm Eder, I'm going to just settle into my rhythm, using that term. And, if these guys are going to continue to go this hard, you just have to let them. There's only so much you can do on a climb like this. And now Laverick is doing what he does so well. Actually
He
created
doesn't
a
want
new
Friere to come
verb.
back. I think he doesn't want Eddie Friere to come back because Everett now has a second wind at that 6.3 watts per kilogram. Looks like he is bringing it back to the wheel. I'm surprised, actually. What a fighter as he looks to drum back onto that wheel with 98 steady RPMs. Really solid effort here coming from Eddie Friere. Laverick backs off the 5.6. Bevan and
That's
Freeman
incredible.
here together. Look at this. Bevan and Freeman, they've got 3 seconds on the chase group at this point, but Freeman now attacks at 7.5, as you can see, trying to break James Bevan and hold on to his 4th place. Now back in with the ladies, though, it looks like it is going to be Reznikov holding on to a solid 28 seconds, but 4.7 watts per kilogram, a lot of climbing yet to go. As Natalia Franco, though, is still being chased down by Kristen Kolchinski, who might get back involved in this race for a second-place podium spot.
That's the race right there for a second, the silver medal. That they'll be waiting up at Chalet Reynard here is I don't see, if you watch those numbers, Reznikov is still putting up 5s, 5.2s. These ladies are not even hitting 5 here. So it's not that big of a difference, but it tells me Reznikov is still, pouring it on rather than giving up any time. So looking like the platinum standard out here today is the Israeli athlete. These two, though, boy, this is going to be quite a battle here between Franco and Kolchinski, the Colombian and the American.
Yep, Kolchinski, Franco. Here you can see the helicopter view, getting us an idea of what things are at as far as the space between them. That's 1 second, but 1 second's a lot of distance to be closing down. What kind of effort it takes to try and bring that back? It's huge effort here, as you can get that her perspective. But there, it does look like it's coming back though. The speed just a little bit higher, 15 kilometer per hour, 14 kilometer per hour. So I think Kolchinski pretty motivated at this point.
That's the longest second, though. You know what I mean? When it's the second that you're behind. When it's the second when you're in front, it seems like a nanosecond. And when you're behind, it seems like 5 seconds. It's all your perspective here. That the mindset, we've talked about that quite a bit. Would you rather be the hunter or the hunted? And right now, I think Kolchinski's pretty happy here, just working off of that tempo. The reality, they still got a long way to go, but Reznikov really looks to be on an incredible day today. She's still putting up massive numbers there. Her watts per kilo are phenomenal. You can see these two more like in the mid-4s right now. Kolchinski and Franco, they're in their own private battle here. But this, Reznikov, on our screen right now, Nathan highlighted her pedigree as a triathlete. Obviously an outstanding, she's just in her zone.
Yeah, and you can see she's picked the perfect bike for the climb out here today. She is on that specialized tarmac with the Mellenstein. She knows her Zwift. She's unlocked everything that she needs to in order to be the fastest she possibly can. That is the best climbing bike set up out there for climbing. Franco looks like obviously going to be on the sponsored bike with the felt there and the zip wheels, as you can see. And then a Tron coming from Kolchinski, the best all-arounder. Now an attack up from Franco saying, nope. I'm going to give it a go as soon as you come back to my wheel. And that's actually a really good move here coming from Natalia Franco, because Kolchinski probably said, oh, cool, I made that effort, got back on the wheel, now I can settle in. Nuh-uh. Not going to mentally let you do that or physically let you have any kind of respite. And Franco goes on the attack.
Yeah, that's feisty, isn't it? That's the kind of racer that you love, that says, I'm not giving up an inch right now. No quarter asked for and no quarter given by the Colombian Natalia Franco. We're going back to the vanguard, the very front here. It was a small field that started about 17 and a half kilometers ago. They've been climbing, though, now for quite a while. A level 50 Zwifter. So talking about putting in your time is Reznikov, and boy, she's putting on a clinic here today on this. We just now getting a chance to race here on the French World that was used during the virtual Tour de France. So cool to have this new course at our fingertips here.
Taking a quick look here and trying to see if we do see any of the riders just a little ways. And it's pretty cool. They go by this lake here. I had no idea there's this gigantic lake in the middle of this climb. This is pretty amazing scenery that we have out here actually on Mount Ventoux. As we do see the riders off in the distance, a solid 42 seconds, though. Going to be a different, lot more climbing here today for the women to come. Now back in with the men. they have opened up a full-on minute 10 with the lead group, and it is going to be Lejeune with a 10% gradient breaking Laverick at this point. I think
Holy
Laverick,
cow.
interesting enough to see, though, here in this 10%. Laverick, though, matching his watts per kilogram. I think Lejeune, maybe not believing that he was going to be able to continue. His heart rate has gone out to 172 at this point. Laverick here now 178 beats per minute, as you can see. But Lejeune having to back off to 5.5, 5.6, as you can see. Edifriere no longer involved. They were able to break him, it looks like.
Here we go,
now
though.
5.0. So this is the real race here at this point between Laverick and Lejeune. Lejeune, though, 5.7. Laverick, steady.
Laverick's shutting it down.
Yep.
Laverick is starting to shut this down here. So this will be the process, the murder by numbers by Ed Laverick. I don't know that Lejeune, I don't know how much he knows about Ed Laverick, but one thing I know is there's really nothing Ed Laverick can't do for 5 minutes, right? He can keep this up around 7 watts per kilo. I think this was the moment, ladies and gentlemen, right here, right now. Ed Laverick is doing what he does so well. Lejeune, what a valiant battle. It's not over till they hit the finish line, Nathan, but I think you saw Laverick make a big play. If Lejeune comes back, and he's coming back, he is coming back. It's just body. Okay, Nathan, we've got ourselves an epic battle. This is like watching Godzilla and Mothra battling off the coast of Japan, because Lejeune not only comes back, he's putting Laverick in trouble now. Wow.
Yeah, and we're seeing, it looks like Lejeune here able to just grab back on Laverick. Now Edifriere, though, off the back. So this is the battle here. The two at the front dominating this at this point. Edifriere now 4.5. He is not coming back into this. And so it's going to be Ed Laverick and Lejeune,
They both.
the World Elite Zwifters, that are going to be trying to versus the Wahoo team here out here. So we'll see what they can pull off. And I think Laverick here still biding his time, though.
Yeah, so World Elite Zwifters, who also, talking about WTRL and the time trial, they've been absolutely incredible. This is a powerhouse squad, and no doubt about it, Lejeune has impressed so many folks. I have to say, my mind is blown watching him going just body blow after body blow here with Ed Laverick, who, without any doubt now, these two have to look at each other and say, this is going to be epic. Trying to figure out how to crack the code as they're really quickly going to come up on 1K to go. I mean, they're climbing at 20 kilometers per hour on an 8% grade. That right there is bananas.
Absolutely, and I think these guys. This is one of the best battles I've ever seen when it comes to
a climbing battle.
A climbing battle like this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is definitely. Sometimes you just have a rider just completely walk away, or you have a group of riders that start looking at each other. But this is kind of a boxing match at this point. You put two in the ring. They've created their own ring. They've essentially mapped it out where nope, this is the 2-1s. And at this point, it's going to be me versus you. Who's got the uppercut? Who's going to bob and weave? And that's really what's going down at this point. They're really watching each other. Look at the heart rates, too. They're probably maybe even clicking back and forth. What do you got? How high can your heart rate really go? And I think they're really testing each other as they come into these final few K. Final K, actually, at this point.
But yeah, they're down inside of 1K to go. And this is, Nathan, really, that was the tombstones that we were referring to. Nathan, one of these riders is going to need one by the time this one is done and dusted. I got to say, if Lejeune wins this race, it's incredible. Even that being said, what he's done here puts him into the pantheon of great climbers on this platform, going up against the legend. I mean, it doesn't get better than Ed Laverick out of Wales here. Okay. Coming up now on 750, let's say 700 meters to go. This one is going to be an absolute Donnybrook. Now, again, Laverick in the black, wearing the Wahoo kit. He's a Wahooligan here. As you can see, the blue jersey there, that is going to be the World Elite Zwifters, the Belgian rider Lejeune. And okay, not really. I mean, you're looking at numbers that aren't insane right now, because it's going to be one final surge to the line here.
Yeah, and Laverick now starting to ramp things up here. I don't think he wants to sprint, actually. I
There we
think
go.
he does not want to kick to the line. I think he's just going to start revving
Lejeune
the engine up.
responds.
7.9. Lejeune now 8 watts per kilogram here coming from Laverick. Laverick trying to break Lejeune
Might
in
be
the
early.
final half a K. It might be a little early, but I don't think he's got it. I think Lejeune has to have been broken. He's only got 7.9 to give. 500 watts here from Lejeune, but Laverick on the attack. 9 watts watts per kilogram, and this is where the coin frames comes from. He's getting Laverick out here today. Done. We predicted it. He was waiting and biding his time. It's going to be a left-hand turn. It's going to be within sight. I don't think he's gone too early. I think he can hold this to the line.
Yeah, well, Lejeune said, oh, yeah, how about these apples? As Laverick's numbers go white,
no.
he goes orange. It's not over, ladies and gentlemen. The Belgian rider has cracked the whip. He's coming. Nathan, this one is going to go down to the finish line. The Belgian rider is coming like a runaway freight train here.
My gosh.
Can Laverick hold him off? Can Laverick hold him off? There's the
He's
finish
got a
line.
kick.
Nathan.
No way, Lejeune's going to do it. He's got 10 watts per kilogram. Here comes Laverick. Can Laverick come across? Laverick's got one more kick, but no, 1 watt per kilogram from Laverick. And it's Lejeune, World Elite Zwifters across the line. Ed Laverick 2.0, it looks like, and he's going to have to suffer across the line. Said and done. Up into the 180s. I wonder if he got a new max heart rate, though. I mean, what an effort here by Ed Laverick. He went very early. I thought it was over. He got a huge gap, but was unable to pull it off. Edith Friere is going to be rolling in for third. What a battle to the line.
Laverick himself. Unbelievable. He makes that attack. He goes up into the red, and then Lejeune is able to dig even deeper. That's going to go down as one of the greatest finishes that we've witnessed here in the 2020 season. Edith Friere, Viva Mexico. The Legion rider here will take the bronze medal. Nathan, it's as good as it gets right there. We've still got the women climbing up. They haven't even hit 20K in, I would think. But this is your podium rounding out right now.
For the men, Edith Friere, he's going to be crossing the line there for Legion. Solid ride here coming from Edith Friere. Dan Fleeman has been caught by Lashley, Bevan, as well as Sivori there. Behind him, there's another chase group, it looks like, from Van Breda. So this is the battle here, though, for fourth place, as Lashley gives a little bit of a kick now, as you can see, with about 300 meters to go or so. Going to see in just a moment around the corner, and it looks like Dan Fleeman responding. These are the final moments here for the top 5. Bevan responds as well. Amazing job from the D-Pack rider here. That's a really good ride. Bevan's going to have a solid kick still. This guy can kick from almost any heart rate at this point. 192 beats per minute. Fleeman's going, though, 9 watts per kilogram here. We may have a repeat situation where a rider went a little bit too early for fourth place now. It looks like Sivori now trying to come across the Laporte rider coming out of Portugal.
Channeling
Huge
his sprinter
ride here.
Yeah, so Bevan channeling his inner sprinter, the British Army rider, there is going to take fourth spot there behind Friere. It looks like Dan Fleeman will hold on for a top 5 ride today. That's a wattage cottage if there ever was one right there. D-Packs, James Bevan. Oh, looks like Fleeman's got another rider to hold off. Is he going to do it?
Not quite to the line there, it looks like. For sixth place, it's going to be Dan Fleeman. Lashley now next one across the line. Let's jump back in with the women, though. Still some battles going on here as we'll make sure that we're catching some of the men rolling across the line as well. Lots still to happen here in the USA Cycling Racing League here, but it is going to be about 3K to the line here as Reznikov still hasn't opened up a minute, though, at this point. Looks like she's faded back to 4.6. I think she can see that the other riders have faded and are having their own battle behind at this point, with Franco and Kolchinski battling it out still. And then it is going to be Team Sisu still with Ramsey and Wagner. Russell still hanging out together here for the chase group of 3. And then behind there, there's going to be McKinley there in a solo effort, just ahead of Jay Grant, as well as Lisa Late there coming from the KISS Racing team. So 9 riders here out on the climb still, with Reznikov being the one who went first, the PTZ rider coming out of Israel, almost a minute ahead of Kolchinski and Franco.
I think this course was really almost exactly at that, as advertised, 23K. So Reznikov coming, she's a half K up the road right now from the group that we're looking at here. Franco. And these two have really locked horns out there. Kristen Kolchinski is not messing around now. So they've got about 3.5K to sort this one out, looks like, for the silver medal. Well, we saw some riders really close things down there, though. But that's really the last surge, that last 200 meters, as this is going to be Scottish rider for Saris the Pros Closet, Gavin Dempster, coming across the line, and the highly regarded orange and blue, one of the most recognizable kits and respected kits in the world of esports.
Tor2K Callus now making their way to the top as well with Revel, it looks like. Solid effort here coming from him as hanging out in the World Social Ride WSR, it looks like, with obviously a very high level Zwifter as well with the Tarmac and the Mellensteins, I believe. Wade there from Dirt battling it out a little bit, it looks like, with Team Novo Nordisk just behind. And FD Vola also from DPAC here, giving a solid 8.3 watts per kilogram, trying to bring back a couple of spots. So that's your top 15 amongst the men. We'll go ahead and bring in the results and maybe a little bit of a replay of how it all went down. But before that, let's go ahead and jump back in with the women as Reznikov here, about 2.5 kilometers to the top here as Reznikov pulls 4.8 watts per kilogram. So Franco and Kolchinsky, it looks like still neck and neck at this point. It's on 173 beats per minute currently coming from Franco. And Kolchinsky now 3.7. You know, I'm going to see... I'm going to shoot Laverick. He's probably live streaming, actually. We'll see if we can get Laverick in for a interview after that crazy effort. I want to know what was going through his mind and what that was like. I mean, that looked like one of the hardest things the rider's ever done. And that's definitely something I think I've been seeing from him. Now, Kolchinsky, though, does go on the attack here, though. So as we get the shots here, a little bit of camera time. For 2 seconds, that was an opportune movement, it looks like, that she took there.
Well, yeah, here we go. So again, she had a great ride yesterday. A dropout took her out of the mix. Today she came in looking to, get hers, and this has turned into quite a battle between these two. It's gone back and forth. If you were watching, I'd say 8 minutes ago, it looked like Franco that was the one that was applying the pressure, but now tables have turned out here, and that could be the story on these long, sustained climbs. As riders will go through some bad patches out here, they'll come good again. Boy, we saw a lot of that going on in the men's race. Out here for the women, Reznikov, class of the field, as she comes up pretty quickly on 2K to go. It's a long 2K of climbing, but she's got a huge advantage. This is the bike race that we've got on screen right now. The Colombian in blue, the American in black.
Yeah, and we do see Reznikov here still opening up a pretty solid gap here, 179 beats per minute. She's looks like 2 kilometers to go at this point. And speaking of this course here, it really doesn't, this Ventoux at this point, one of the most difficult sections, that's for sure. And it just doesn't back off from here on out. 9%, 10%. I don't think we really have any kind of reprieve in this climb. It goes to show, if you are planning on doing this course, this is what you're preparing for. 12% gradient, and essentially we saw nothing but red for like the last 10 to 15 minutes, actually, when it comes to the gradient on this course.
Yeah, you can see why this is one of the most respected and regarded climbs in the history of the Tour de France. The Giant of Provence. This is the kind of mountain that you can see from it's sort of like Rainier in the state of Washington, right? You can see it from a long ways away, and it really looms large. And as far as making your legend, this is where you do it. I mean, think about that. 8 to 11% for 7K, 8K. That is just, it turns into 1,100 meters of climbing, basically, is what they've been up against out here today. An incredibly long day in the saddle here with this kind of just the intensity of the effort that our riders have had to make. The Israeli athlete, the triathlete, Reznikov, just been phenomenal out here. And she's still making more than 5 watts per kilo.
Yeah, Reznikov really showing her talent. It does look like Franco and Kolchinsky bringing a little bit of time back, though, as they start to have a little bit of infighting over and over again. Solid efforts here coming from Franco, as I think for Team 20, it's funny. Team 2020, they've been playing second fiddle a lot. They've been in that second place over and over again. Yesterday, Shannon Paulus, I believe, solid effort here coming in from her with, I believe she took second yesterday, if I'm not incorrect. And then Kolchinsky, though, yesterday as well, though, with that effort, trying to get a little bit of revenge after the dropout. So both these riders here looking to represent. Reznikov, though, this is a rider I have not seen this kind of standout effort from her. And it must be, as far as from the flatter courses. So I have a feeling that really when it comes down to just going uphill for a long period of time, being, the triathlete that she is. I think that point that you made was really a solid point. The idea of set the tempo, being an amazing time trialist, being obviously an amazing climber, just able to really set that tempo and go able to show that where her talents really do shine.
And wouldn't you say, Nathan, for an athlete with her experience, she has a very good idea of how, I mean, we talk about FTP ad nauseum. And I mean, she knows how many watts she can make and what she can sustain and what's outside of her range. Of course, yeah, there's the days that you're inspired, you have an incredible day and you go big, but they certainly know the sweet spot.
Yeah, 100%. Reznikov showing that she's done
She
the sweet
knows she's
spot at
not
this
in
point.
trouble.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
5.8 at that point. So
Yeah.
giving a little
I
bit
think
of
she
a
was
dig.
showing me something. She's like, you want to see my sweet spot? Look at this watts. Like, there you go. Wattage bazooka when you talk about Antonina Reznikov. Love that name. Just sounds like a racer, no doubt about it. If we take a look here at this battle shaping up, I mean, it just goes back and forth when you look at Franco and Kolchinsky here. So learning more about Kristen Kolchinsky, that's for sure. The woman can climb, Nathan. She really can. I mean, although this isn't the deepest field, to be fair, that we've seen. I mean, quality riders like Wagner, Ramsey. These are names that we know well. Anna Russell is one of the better riders in the sport. So if you're riding up here today, even though there's not 40 riders in this field, again, we go back to that quality over quantity.
Yeah, Franco now continues to put the attacks on. I did see Kolchinsky saying a shout out, I think, on one of her social media posts to a coach, actually, that's been getting her in shape for a lot of these races. So very committed, it looks like, athletes, specifically around the racing out on Zwift recently. So very cool to see Kolchinsky looking to close things down. And this is an athlete that's now racing up against one of the top pros in the world. The opportunities here that are being provided through this platform, cycling made social and also made pro in a lot of ways too. It's pretty cool the way that
absolutely
Zwift has brought those two worlds together.
Kolchinsky saying, hey, I thought she said she weighed 75 kilo.
That's the last little kick here to the line. Half a K as Reznikov puts her stamp on and says, nope, I'm the climber out here today in the USA Cycling League. On the Queen, I think you had a great correction for me there because I would say Reine, but I think you got the French accent there for me.
La Reine.
La Reine.
You know where I learned that
La
from?
Reine.
Yep,
Go
our
ahead.
Man Matt Stevens.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of
yeah,
course.
exactly. That guy knows everything, man. That guy knows everything. He's the coolest. All right, here you go. It's going to be Franco now. She's channeling her inner Colombian. Well, she is a Colombian, so I guess she doesn't have to channel that much because she right now, I thought she was going to attack right there, Nathan. Is there about a little in between a K and a half to go right now? But the tempo that Kolchinsky's setting, it's not baiting her into attacking, is it?
No, it looks
going
like,
just hard enough.
It's going to be a poker face, I think, at this point between the two of them because you can see that the Wasp Pilgrim, they've come down a lot. I think a lot of the attacks have really happened already between them besides the final few in the last K or so. It looks like Reznikov here setting a steady 4.9 now. She's just going to cruise across the line at 182 beats per minute. But really the poker game here now between these two is who's got the watts to give in the final K.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw in the finale for the men here is it's hard not to go too early, but you don't want to let a gap open up, right? So you're really doing that dance between, trying to be patient, but not letting the race get away from you. Reznikov, this one is done and dusted. Fantastic ride here today. Well, certainly great racing out on this course. That was the gold standard. As we finish up, nice job.
Yeah, Reznikov. Solid ride there from Reznikov. Now Franco here taking over the lead now. They've got under a K to go. So they're in the last 800 meters. This is the right-hand turn into the straightaway, and then one little right-hand dip for a moment. So the banner will just be out of sight. And this is when the games start, really. I mean, who's going to take the lead and who's going to punch first? And it does look like Natalia Franco making her way to the front first. A little bit of a punch from her now. 5.9. Kolchinsky responds immediately.
with the climb this steep, the draft is not going, they're going 19, 18K per hour. So there's not going to be that much draft. It's really just going to come down to a strong women's competition. And Kolchinski is ready to make her mark. Here we go, Nathan. We're going to start seeing some big numbers going up on the board. It goes up over 5. It should go up over 6 pretty quickly here. They can almost see the finish line.
Yeah, the finish line just ahead. It's just around the corner there, but you can see the gradient gets so steep, it actually cuts off the view of the finish banner. Franco here sitting in the wheel. You can see just right here. There isn't a whole lot of benefit, but mentally almost sometimes you're thinking, well, I know I'm following the wheel consistently. I'm right where I need to be at this point. So look at her back off, even giving a little bit of a gap at this point, and now back up into 6 watts per kilogram. This is the move here to take over the front. Not wanting that wheel length or a bike length to even be ahead of her at this point. Wants to drive the pace. Kolchinski's going to have to respond now as Franco takes over. We're into the last 400 meters.
Oh, boy, you see a little surge from Franco, but then Kolchinski comes right back. These ladies won't give an inch out here, Nathan. This is going to be as deep as you can go as far as fighting out here. This might as well be for the win. In their mentality, that's how they're racing right now. This silver medal might as well be gold.
Franco's got a gap here. Kolchinski's letting it go. She's got 180 beats per minute. I think she might be broken at this point. Franco now with that solid move. It wasn't even really a move. It was like attrition. But no, Kolchinski says,
it's
nope,
not over.
It's not over. Just like what we saw. Now up in 8 watts per kilogram. A sprint effort here. What has Franco got? Can she respond? I think Natalia Franco gave everything that she had for that final dig. And Kolchinski gives a go. After the dropout yesterday, she is happy with this one. I would think 188 6.5, and that's done.
Puts baby in a corner. Kolchinski with a standout ride. Silver medal here today on Reine. That was very, very impressive. An Israeli and an American and a Colombian taking your sounds like a joke. Doesn't walk into a bar, but no, that's your podium here today. Great racing out there. Now we're going to go back and pick up our 4th and 5th place riders at one of the world's most respected teams, Cryogen. Literally hundreds of riders ride for this squad, and this is going to be Wagner that we're looking at now.
Yeah, Wagner here, solid ride coming from her out of Germany. She was able to break the rider out of the Netherlands. It's going to be Ramsey from Sisu, ride like a girl. But then Anna Russell coming out of New Zealand. I love the headband from Saris the Pro's closet here. Now this is a cool avatar. Definitely. And solid ride here coming from Anna Russell. And Anna Russell, big shout out to her. She was doing some broadcasts actually. I saw over on Twitch and Facebook and a couple other places for New Zealand and their triathlon community. So great job to her, commentating some races out there and now showing up on the newly launched esports team from Saris the Pro's closet on the women's side of things. Hammering away at 11% gradient right now, but Wagner here breaking the pack there, trying to throw down for that 4th place into that final 700 meters.
Yeah, one of the really cool personalities, Anna Russell, for sure, as is Dana Wagner, the Cryogen rider now. So, again, you can see that this sweeping bend here takes you into that last half K. It's not long until you can see the finish line. As a racer on these alpine climbs, man, when you start coming into the fencing and the signage, you really feel like you can almost feel the pain coming out of leaving your legs here as you know the finish is close.
That's
long day in the saddle.
It's huge day in the saddle. Huge day in the saddle. Nicole, thank you so much for the correction there. Courtney Nelson from 2020 yesterday with the 2nd place, and Shayna Paulus with the 4th yesterday. And then rounding things out for a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Trying to just grab that 1st place there out there, Nicola, as continues to just barely out of their grasp. It looks like Wagner going to be throwing down solid here for that 4th place out there today. We'll stick with Ramsey and Russell as they make their way to the line out to 6th place, and then we'll take a look at the results and a couple of our replays.
I love having 2020 out here racing with us, a world-level team. This is the team of Chloe Dygert and Kristen Armstrong, and really the pantheon of American greats. And we mentioned it's not just an American team, some tremendous Canadians, and obviously the Colombian Franco out here racing today. Having their participation really helps raise the standard out here. So always nice to see. This is going to be Dana Wagner, Cryogen rider here with just a few hundred meters to go. You can do anything for a few hundred meters, right?
Sometimes it feels actually, these are the moments where you
No.
get the biggest. Well, these are the moments that you do get the biggest fitness gains if you do throw it down on the line. There's that extra oomph in a race,
This is the
especially in the
1%.
broadcast with the
Yep.
witness. You know what I mean? There is that extra little
Absolutely.
oomph you can give, and you kind of ride out of your own skin situation. You feel so good afterwards, but it's some of the most painful seconds of your life. And I always tell myself it's only 5 seconds. It's only 10 seconds of your life. That's all it is. You just give it 10 more seconds of your life at this point. And it looks like that's exactly what Wagner's throwing down at 250 watts
How
right
about
now, being chased down.
the satisfaction when you meet your goal, right? Greatest in the world. Dana Wagner, done and done. Here is, we're going to go back now and pick up Lenny Ramsey, Sisu. I race like a
This is
girl.
quite the effort, too, because tomorrow, I think Sisu's showing up for W2L as well. I think a lot of these riders are showing up for W2L tomorrow, actually.
Well, and that the women's showdown at WTRL, that's the World Tactical Racing League. Come join us, watch the broadcast, and certainly get out there and race. It's incredibly fun. Just a part of the Zwift community that I have fallen in love with. Here's our friend Anna Russell, colleague, actually, right, Nathan? She's a co-caster out
Yeah, she's
there.
commentating. She's
She
commentating.
does a
She might
great
be
job.
even live streaming this right now, if I'm not incorrect. So, Saris the Pros Closet, they've been putting
And
together along with a lot of other teams, actually. Evoke and Saris the Pros Closet, I would have to mention. Definitely been doing a great job on their personal streams. Really solid and looking professional. So, great job here. Anna Russell throwing down for 6th place. Does look like this is going to be the battle here for 7th and 8th. We'll leave that between the Grant and McKinley, though, as Anna Russell comes across the line for 6th. Dave,
sounds like a
amazing
presidential.
job out here.
Oh, yeah, this was fun. I hope we are back on this course soon, although we should save this one for special occasions. This climb is hard enough that we certainly don't want to overuse it, do we? That's for sure.
Just like yesterday, we're probably going to get some comments coming on in, I would think, as we take a look here down toward the in the city here as we are out in France. But it is going to be Emmanuel Lejeune, 50:37, excuse me. Oh, man, 23K today, and I was not expecting to see 50 minutes, but I mean, that's the reality with the amount of climbing that was out here today. 19-second gap opened up to Laverick at the end with Eder Friere coming across line 104 back. Was James Bevan losing 209 for 4th place, and then Savory just nipping Dan Fleeman at the line. Sam Lashley followed up by Rick Van Brada, and then Gavin Dempster for Saris the Pros Closet, and Charlie Revel. Solid effort here coming from Charlie Revel. In the women's side of things, across the line so far, this is your top 6. Antonina Reznikov there. She went from bottom to top. There were no games to be played because she just said, I'm going to win this outright. But the poker game was between Kristen Kolchinsky and Natalia Franco from 2020. And just at the line there, Kristen was able to pull off the sprint. Dana Wagner from Germany, followed up by Anna Russell coming out of New Zealand for Saris the Pros Closet. So that is the race out there today. Probably a whole lot of riders still out on course from the B, C, and D categories still, Dave. I think we're going to leave that as I think we'd be here for another 10 to 15 minutes waiting for everybody to get across line in the top 10s. But USA Cycling League, everybody who's out there watching, unfamiliar with this is something they do every week out on Zwift with USA Cycling. If you are a USA Cycling member, you can go ahead and register with them. You have results that are separated actually specifically for USA Cycling members. And a very great job that they're doing with Saris the Pros Closet each and every week. We have a morning race, an afternoon race, as well as an evening race. And we always are broadcasting the afternoon race. So you can get out there, out on the broadcast. And we do try and cover a couple of the other categories. Just today, Dave, I think with the reality of the climbing out here today, a little bit more difficult to get across it all.
Yeah, and you can see the effort the riders are making. Not many groups finish up, every rider in their own personal battle against the mountain. So they call it La Reine for a reason. That was the queen stage of this year's virtual Tour de France. So stoked you got to race on it today. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, chilling today in chat. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to head over to Zwift Community Live. Follow us over on all the socials, as well as if you want to watch any of these live streams anytime, you will be able to get a notification. Turn on those notification bells, hit the subscribe button, so you do know anytime we do go live. We will see you tomorrow for the World Tactical Racing League Team Time Trial, special event that WTRL has put together to create team time trialing. Pretty amazing. I think we have 3,000 plus riders currently in the summer every single week for the event across 9 different zones, actually. Riders all over the world competing throughout the day. So we'll be back for WTRL tomorrow. Until then, everybody, ride on.